Good day and welcome to Psych Sense, where we make sense of mental health. I'm Ken Mallon, your host, and today we explore the topic of obesity and mental health. Now, the DSM-5, the manual that mental health professionals use to diagnose mental disorders, has two sections where obesity and/or overeating could apply. First of all, there's an entire section on feeding and eating disorders. It covers things like anorexia nervosa, bulimia, binge eating. So one could certainly make an argument that overeating could go there. Now, there's also a section on substance use and addictions. So let me pose this question. Is overeating a type of substance misuse? Let's spend some time thinking through that. Now, the substance use disorder section includes a number of substances that one can misuse and can cause problems in your life. You won't be surprised to find that alcohol, cocaine, heroin, and marijuana are in there. These are certainly things you could misuse. And in fact, there are entire categories of hallucinogens, inhalants, opioids, sedatives, and stimulants. But you might be surprised to learn that misuse of caffeine and tobacco could lead to a mental health diagnosis. So it's not crazy, given that caffeine and tobacco are in here, that sugar or food in general might be considered a substance one could misuse. To make this a proper comparison, and figure out if overeating could meet the same diagnostic criteria that is met for, let's say, alcohol use disorder. Let's try to do this apples to apples and really look through the criteria for alcohol use and see how much of it might apply to eating disorders. Taking a look here, there are 11 criteria for alcohol use disorder, and you have to meet 2 of them. Yeah, that's right. You only have to meet 2 out of these 11 within a 12-month period in order to be diagnosed. So let's just take a look at them one by one. Number 1, substance often taken in larger amounts than intended. There's no doubt, that's what people do with alcohol when they get drunk. Now, in the case of overeating, there's really no question here. Overeaters tend to eat beyond feeling satiated. Number 2 is persistent desire to cut back. We certainly see this with alcoholics, and there's no doubt about it that for people that overeat, you see all these diets and people always trying to cut back. So number 2 would definitely apply in many cases for overeating as well. Number 3, a great deal of time spent trying to obtain the substance. Now, for many substance use issues, whether it's cocaine or alcohol, whatever, this you definitely see. You see people going out, trying to get the substance, trying to figure out where they can find it in the house, etc. I'm not sure that applies so much with food, but maybe. Let's give that one a no for now, but let's just keep going. Craving. Now, with substance use issues, you see this sense of craving, and you definitely see it with food as well. Of course, you need food to survive, but you often see craving above what you would normally need to survive. So, for example, someone craving cake when they're already full, or someone craving candy when they're already full. The 5th criteria for alcohol use disorder is recurrent use of the substance results in failure to meet obligations. I think with this one you're talking about someone who gets drunk and maybe misses an appointment, fails to pick up a kid somewhere. I don't think we see this kind of situation with food, so that one wouldn't apply. Number 6 is continued use despite interpersonal impact. I don't think we see this so much with overeating, but it can impact relationships. You do definitely see people maybe breaking up over someone's weight gain. So let's call that one a no, but let's just keep it in mind and continue. Number 7, giving up important activities as a result of overuse. Now, this we do see with overeating. We see people maybe giving up their favorite sport. They don't play basketball anymore. They don't go running. They don't ride their bike anymore because of the weight that they gain. They may also stop other activities, like maybe they don't go out as much because they don't like how they look in clothes. Maybe they're not going to the beach. So this one I'm definitely going to say would be typically a yes in the situation of overeating. Number 8 is recurrent use even when physically hazardous. Now, with this one, for alcohol, what we're talking about is driving while intoxicated, and I don't see where this one applies to overeating, so let's continue to number 9. Number 9 is continued use despite negative mental or physical health impact. Now, this one is certainly seen with overeating. There are many negative health consequences. People might get sleep apnea, heart problems, you see high blood pressure, cholesterol. Despite these symptoms and despite doctors saying you need to lose weight, we do see many people do not lose weight. Now, number 10, the 10th criteria used for alcohol use disorder is tolerance. Now, in alcohol, this means that you keep needing more to obtain the same desired effect. We actually see this with a lot of drugs. Now, I could be wrong, but I don't think this applies that much to overeating. Again, maybe I'm wrong, but let's just call this one a no for overeating. Now, the 11th one and the final one is about withdrawal. And I don't know if we see withdrawal symptoms, at least not super strongly when someone goes on a diet, but maybe so. So let's tally this up. We saw that if the criteria for alcohol use disorder are applied to overeating, we get something like 5 to 6 of this criteria being commonly met for people who overeat. And the other thing to keep in mind is that to be diagnosed with alcohol use disorder, you only needed to meet 2 of those. So I think a pretty strong case could be made that overeating maybe should be considered as a substance use issue in the DSM. So what could be some of the positive consequences of making overeating into a DSM diagnosis? Well, one of the positive things could be that diagnosis might contribute to a greater availability of services and maybe more research into it just from a psychological standpoint. There's been a ton of research on medical cure-alls, but not really enough on the psychotherapy impact. So maybe we could see the overeaters going to therapists more. Maybe we could see more research into what are the real causes here of overeating. So I hope you liked this video. I look forward to your opinions. If you do have some comments, please go ahead and put them down below. And once again, thank you for watching Psych Sense, where we make sense of mental health. I'm Ken Mallon, your host, and I'll see you next time.